Right, I'm just making a slight adjustment here to this side of the flower, and then I'll zoom back out and take a look. Actually, let me see, I should be able to delete this node. Yeah, there we go. And everything should be fine. And by the way, if you were watching and there was any interruption, I apologize. That is a technical issue. Nothing I could really have done about that one, but I really do hope it did not restart on anyone. What I'm doing here is something called retopology, which is something you do in both 3D and 2D vector graphics. So basically, what I was doing just now is looking for any nodes that are redundant and just removing them from the design. And the point of doing that is so that we have smoother lines everywhere and less complexity. And it can also be important if you're working with a very large design for performance purposes, because sometimes if you have a much larger design with a ton of nodes, those extra nodes take a toll on the program or on the system you're running it on. Reason being that it's literally having to calculate mathematical equations to every single node. So could you imagine if you have like 5,000 nodes, and really and truly you don't need all of them, but you just have those 5,000 nodes, what that would do to performance. So yeah, I'm just cleaning up things a little bit, and then I'll move on to the next step. Right, so I do like how this looks so far, and I'm going to go ahead now and add a sun in this corner. Or maybe not, well, not really the sun. I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to shade the frame. But before I do that, I'm going to duplicate the frame, so let me unlock it. Duplicate that frame, select the flower and the person. Not in that order, of course, I just selected the person and then the flower anyway. So right, we just clicked to the shape of the frame, and then I'm going to move these down so that they're actually inside the frame. And I'm going to duplicate the frame again, move that to the bottom. Select the frame, turn off fill, leave stroke on, duplicate the frame again, and change the color of the stroke. Just give it a slight blur, and move it downward, and this will give us a shadow. So there is actually another way you can achieve shadows in Inkscape, which is through a filter. And filters are very, very powerful, by the way. I think it is in Inkscape 1.4. I think this is 1.3 I'm using. Let me just double check. But there is a new filter dialog that really gives you a lot more power than what we would have had before. Yeah, this is 1.3. So I don't think that feature is in here. Let me just check very quickly here. Okay, filter editor. Yeah, I don't think 1.3 has that new filter dialog yet, if I remember correctly. But yeah, filters are pretty powerful, so you can get drop shadows, and those are repeatable drop shadows that you can adjust in all kinds of ways. But personally, I tend to do mine manually for a number of reasons. One of them being that I can adjust them in a more intricate way than you can with the actual filter, because a filter is applied without your ability to say like change the shape and that kind of stuff. I like to be able to do that, so I do mine differently. But it still is useful, just to be clear, to have SVG filters available, and you can do a lot of powerful stuff with them. Okay, I'm noticing a small problem here. The shadow is showing up through the frame. Oh, I just remembered why. So, the reason the shadow is showing up through the frame, there is no background. So, let me just turn off stroke on this one, and we're going to give it a fill. And for that, we're going to go with, I think I'm going to do like a kind of a purple background. Again, we're technically cheating because this should be monochrome. But what I'm going to do, instead of just doing a single monochrome, we're doing a composite image. So I'm going to do a composite, I'm going to do a monochrome background image, and then a silhouette and a monochrome foreground image, which would be the flowers in monochrome foreground image. The silhouette is in between background and flower, technically, and then we have a monochrome background here as well. Good thing that these Inkscape challenges are not actually like for, you know, money or something, because I would be immediately disqualified for not following the rules here. Plus, I'm doing 2 challenges in one, so whoever's judging would just be dumbfounded. Like, this guy just doesn't follow rules, does he? I think I want this to be darker. I have an idea in mind. And I'm going to try to pull that off within the next 10 minutes or so. I hope it works. It should be pretty cool. So what I'm going to do here with this frame is actually move this out from behind the rest of them. I'm going to work with this separately. So over here, can I zoom in? Or is the Inkscape frozen? Okay. Apparently it was holding the wrong key or something and it didn't want to zoom. So anyway, what we're going to do now is we are going to use some of this same purple, just a brighter shade, and we are going to blur it. But before I do that, let me make sure these are perfect circles. This is an effect that I really love to see, by the way, what I'm about to do here. Which is where you have like a dark background with like this shading. That kind of gives you like a kind of starry look to it. Or like a space theme, kind of. So that's what I'm going to go for here on this background. Alright, I'm going to need to make this a little bit darker. I don't want it completely black, obviously, because it still needs to be a shade of purple. Now let's just make sure our values remain consistent here. So hue has to be consistently 276. Right, there we go. And then this one, I'm going to bring this down some more as well. And let's go ahead and add some richer purples here. Oops. Okay, that's looking nice. I'm going to go ahead and group all of these. Select the frame on the top. Select this. Oh wait, did I duplicate this frame? No, I didn't. Okay. Duplicate, select these two, and then we are going to center them. Okay, that was supposed to center them separately. Oh, I see what happened. That option move and align selection as a group, we don't need that right now. So There we go. And then we are going to clip, set clip. All right. Let me put that back over there for now. And let me center everybody. Oops, not you too. Alright, let's center the frames. Let's group these. Okay, that's not quite gonna work. Alright, let's see what happened here. Okay, that's about good right there. Doesn't need to be perfect, just needs to be within the frame. And then we're going to select everybody here, group them, make sure everything is centered there, and center this. Still a small problem because something is off center a little bit. Anyway, so let's move this down. And there we go. So now we have a nice purple kind of space looking background behind there. And let us go ahead and ungroup these. And we're going to make this silhouette white instead of black. We're going to turn off the stroke. Let me see if it works like this. Actually, I think it's going to need the stroke. It was designed with it on, so the design actually needs that stroke to preserve some detail. Just going to turn it down a little bit to get us exactly what we want. Now the frame, I'm going to make this have a kind of a wood to it, well, wood look to it. So, alright, let's get stroke color, right? That's what I want. And we are going to fill this with a pattern. Let's see if Inkscape has any wood patterns here. I think it does. Well, something close to it. Or at least I know I've done it before. Although I don't remember which of these patterns I used exactly to do it. Either way, I know what to do here. If I can't get the pattern to be exactly as I want it, like 2 different colors, there is still a solution. So we're going to duplicate this, and then we're going to turn stroke to be solid, and we're going to use another color here, and then just move this down. Great. I think actually we can make this a gradient. That will look nice. And then I'm going to go into the node editor and just adjust this gradient so that the later part is on the top, darker on the bottom. And let's make this later part a bit darker than it is right now. And then the frame with the pattern, let's also adjust this color a bit. Make it look a little more natural. And we can also adjust the scaling on this pattern. And let's turn on blurring just a little bit. Not to worry about coloring outside the lines, as you would have seen. I typically tend to use clipping whenever that happens. So we do have a solution for that. And also not to worry, I do know what I'm doing with making this so bright. We are going to use a layer effect. So something like overlay. Or if overlay doesn't do it, let me try hard light. Okay, that's going to brighten it too much. So a plate has a nice effect in that it's like kind of falling off on the edges. And let me see what multiplate. You know, multiplate typically darkens. Let's turn on the blurring a bit. And adjust the opacity as well. Color burn, maybe not. Not too sure about that. I'm just gonna play with these layer effects until I get the right look that I want. Oh, now overlay looks nice. Still a bit bright, so let's just turn that down. Looking good. Okay, so let's get these two frames here, group them, and then we are going to duplicate this one, select this group, and oh, before we do anything else, let's select this frame, because this has a stroke, and stroke can't click. So what we're going to do is stroke to path, then we're going to make sure that this is on the very top, go to select mode, move to the top, select the group that has the two frames in it, and set clip. And there we go. No more coloring outside the lanes. Now we can duplicate this, and what I'm actually going to do is flip it, and you'll see it's now overlaying that pattern on top of there, and we're also going to rotate as well, give it a little bit more of a random look. And then we are going to use the same blend mode again, it's like overlay for instance, or we can play around with this a bit. So let me see, color, okay, color is not quite doing it. Our light again is pretty bright. Let's try color burn. Yeah, I like color burn, giving us a kind of opposing look, which is kind of what I'm going for here. And then we'll just adjust the opacity. And now our wood looks a lot more natural. I really like this. It looks pretty good. So now, I haven't forgotten this base that we have here. For the remaining time, I'm going to just build us a nice base for this to sit on. So let's turn the base back on. And looking at this, I don't need to do much with this actually, kind of think of it. I'm thinking this could be kind of like sitting on a mantelpiece somewhere. So what we're going to do is just bring this out to the edges. Wait a second, I want to snap. There we go. And then we're going to duplicate, bring it down, make sure it snaps to the bottom down here. Come on, snap. It doesn't want to snap. Why not? There we go. And let's move this to the bottom, make it nice and solid, and give it a dark gray. This one we're going to move up. And make it solid, of course. Make it light. Move this one to the very top. Oops. Alright, let's just select everything here. Group them, and then move them to the top. Right, there we go. So now to give this mantelpiece some realism, we need shadows. Or shading, I should say. So what we're going to do is use a gradient again to achieve that. And we're going to start by making this end darker. Let's go in the node editor and move this down to here. Move this up to there like this. Now, as you can see, this doesn't look quite natural yet, but not to worry. I do know what I'm doing. So with shading like this, you're going to need to incorporate blurring as well. So we're gonna have to do some more clipping once again. So let's just make this kind of dark gray and this like a pretty light gray. Not too light, not too dark. Right. And we're gonna give this a kind of natural fall off of shadows. So let's just get an elixir, turn off the stroke, keep the fill on, make sure it's nice and opaque. Now what these will represent is basically, if you're looking anywhere in your house and you have light shining from any source, you'll notice that the light typically doesn't fall evenly. And the reason for that is you may have all kinds of things causing shadows in the house, whether it's a chair somewhere that blocks the light from reaching something else, or your light, let's say you have your light fixture in a chandelier, whatever it is, light typically doesn't fall all that evenly. So in order to achieve that effect, we just add some shadows on top of here. You can just adjust these a bit. And let's select these two, group them. Select the base that's on top, duplicate. Then select this group and set click. There you go. So that gives us a nice shadow effect on top of there. But we're not done yet because, of course, this object is sitting on the mantelpiece and that creates a shadow as well. But the other thing that we're looking at is that our lighting has an angle to it. So we're not going to put the shadow just right across like that. We're going to put it to one side. And it's kind of like if you were the observer looking at this, depending on where the light is coming from, you will see the shadow going toward the opposite direction. Well, going in the same direction, sorry, as the light falls. So we're gonna put this ellipse. Whoops, I did not mean to select that. Put this ellipse right here, rotate, make it dark. And then we're going to adjust the blurring on this. Right, and just make sure that it's behind this group and above this panel right here. You can drag it out to that direction a little bit. Let's adjust the blurring some more as well. And I'm going to give it a gradient and make one side a little less dark than the other. Alright. Sometimes I play with my shadows a bit to kind of see how it feels, really, as I'm looking at it. What feels more realistic. Because realism is really a matter of what feels right in our brains. There isn't necessarily a subset of parameters, at least that we can measure, that tell us this is real, this isn't real. Which is one of the reasons why AI art is sometimes getting to the uncanny valley kind of territory. Like I saw an image recently in a YouTube video that some people were adamant this is real, and it clearly wasn't. If you know your stuff, the focus, the subject of the image was in focus. The background was blurred as if something was in motion, which is actually the opposite of what should be happening. If something is running, the background should in fact be stationary, whereas the object should be blurred. So clearly not real. But people were convinced this is real because it was, you know, meant to look It was made to look like it was like a trail cam video or something that they took a still shot from. But in any case, the point being, the reason why so many people think it is real is because our brains aren't really necessarily stopping to figure out all of those details unless you're trained to do it. So it just looks real enough to make your brain feel like it is real, and some people can be convinced, yeah, that's real. That's a real image. It is not. But again, as I said, you need to be trained in order to know when it is real and when it is not. Now, I'm not going for absolute realism here, obviously, so it doesn't really matter in this image. But still, it's good to know the techniques that work. And sometimes it's just simply a matter of what feels right, what doesn't. Alright, I'm zooming out just a bit to see how this is coming out when it's zoomed out. Because sometimes that helps to determine realism as well. Alright, good. I think I'm satisfied with how that looks. And so what I'm going to do is just give this a background here, kind of like a wall. Let's make this solid. And I think purple pairs well with a kind of greenish shade. So I'm going to go with something like that. Or better yet, how about we go with a kind of a yellow, seeing as the flower is a yellow and the challenge is to be a monochrome image. So that's what we'll do. And let me just make sure that the yellow is of the same shade as the flower. Not bad, not bad. I was just playing with something there just now. If you saw me change colors a couple of times, just seeing what it would look like. Now, what I'm doing with the wall here, as you can see, we are indicating that the light is coming from the right, which means that there's going to be more light falling off over here. Or I should say more light hitting over here and more light falling off over here. So we're going to increase the brightness. Well, we already did that, but we leave the brightness over here pretty high and decrease it over here just a little bit. But I'm going to go ahead and node editor. And just to help with angles, we're going to kind of try to angle this so it matches the shadow. And again, this is kind of arbitrary, but it still helps with indicating realism to the brain. And if I were to do this long enough in this image, you know, like put certain details and stuff in the image, eventually this could look so real that someone could look at it and say, hey, that's a real image, isn't it? And of course it's not, but it's just a matter of tricking the brain again to see what really isn't there. Alright, so I'm going to duplicate this shadow, by the way, and rotate, and resize. Let's just try that right there. Let's move that down. Turn up the blur on this. Let's move it down a little bit. Duplicate, move up, down in the stop, turn the blur down a bit, adjust the opacity, move it off to the side like this. Now let's just play with the blur some more so we get what we want. And let me move this one here as well, and then blur this some more. And the reason for all this, I'm gonna use a funny term here, all this shadow boxing, but yeah. The reason for all of this shadow adjustment is, again, that idea of realism, because shadows typically are actually made up of multiple shadows and not just one. And it is the light at different angles hitting at different levels and that kind of stuff that gives you that effect of multiple shadows in one shadow. So sometimes one of the ways that I increase realism is just to add multiple shadows. Plus, if you think about it, you have a bright yellow wall behind here. So some of the light that's hitting it is actually bouncing back to the back of this object. And then that will create a shadow at a different angle. So that also helps with realism. Okay, so final details now. What we're going to do is add a little piece of like wood or something on the back of this mantelpiece. And let's just turn up the opacity on that. Something is above this that shouldn't be, or something is below something else that shouldn't be. Let's just make sure I know what is what. Yeah, this is not completely solid. That's way. Yeah, I knew it. It's not actually opaque. So good. There we go. Fix that. Or at least we should have, because now I'm still seeing a color that shouldn't be showing through. Probably a bug, and that happens from time to time. I've never been able to figure out what triggers it, but sometimes you will find that there is an object that's supposed to be completely solid and it still shows as not being completely solid. Let me just make sure that this here is where it is supposed to be. Right, that's space, and this is that group. Aha! Right, so it was that group that was somehow showing above this object that was causing that problem, and not the bug that I thought it was. Good to know. Alright, so I'm gonna add some shading to this wood right here. Make it a little more reddish. And let's bring that down to there. And then I'm going to duplicate. Fill it with a pattern again, and once again we're going for that whip looking pattern that we had before. Or we could even do this camouflage pattern. Let's just make it bigger. And then we're going to use multiply. Okay, that actually, it has color, so multiply, not quite gonna do it. Let's try saturation. Right, there we go. And then let's adjust the opacity a bit. Adjust the scaling. Also duplicate, and let's use burn. Okay, that's way too dark. Multiply. Is multiply gonna do it? Close. I don't really want the color to show. Oh, I know what to do here. Let's turn this up. Indeed. And then we're going to move this down. Okay, not too far down. This one needs to go down. Good. Let's grab everybody up. Group them. Let's just make sure that they're behind that. And then within the group, I'm going to find the one that has the wood color that I want to preserve. Duplicate this. Screen. And then just adjust the opacity. Okay, not looking bad at all. Alright, so let's also duplicate and flip, and then we are going to overlay. Or better yet, let's try multiply. Okay, overlay looks better. Let's just adjust this here. Nice blend of colors there. Alright, so let's duplicate one more time. Turn on stroke, turn off, oops, turn on stroke, turn off fill. Let's make the stroke dark. Turn opacity all the way up. Set it to multiply. Move it down. Okay, and we can just adjust this slightly and blur. When you're zoomed out, you won't actually notice too much that this is actually kind of like coloring outside the lines, but you see it gives you a nice effect of a kind of 3D look to the wood on the edges. Now if you zoom in, you can see that's not quite what it is. When you're zoomed out, your eyes can't tell. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this here, blur some more. And then move to the bottom and move up one. Let's zoom out and see how that looks. It's a bit too strong there, so what we're going to do is use a gradient, and then we're going to adjust the gradient so that it comes from top to bottom. Oops, I just realized we had the wrong object selected there for that gradient. I missed it. There we go. Looking good. And at the front, one last thing to do here. I'm gonna give this a nice little line. Wait, where did it go? Did it disappear? Okay. I guess it never actually drew it. Alright, let's move this down. Turn the fill on. Turn the stroke off. Set fill to gray. And we're just going to blur this until it looks like we need it to look. And the reason for this, as you can see, is again we're adding realism with shadows. So you have a sharp edge here, but because it's actually lit by light that's not completely uniform, it's going to look as though it has some shadows on the edges that are also not completely uniform. Pretty nice, I must say. And all that is left to do now is to add my name to this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And also we're going to put, of course, the title on this image as well. So let's give it a title, Inkscape August plus July challenge. And I'm going to use one of my favorite fonts here, the Techno.js. There we go. Giving this a nice stroke. And then let's give it a shadow. Okay, just want to make sure that was not the one that needs to get a shadow, and actually the one that we plan to give it a shadow with. Alright, so just blurring this, move it down. And let's turn up this stroke over here. Good. So now I'm going to add my name to this. Wait a minute, where did my... What just happened there? Did I use the right tool, or did I... Oh, okay, I think I know what I did. Yeah. I accidentally used the text tool trying to draw a rectangle. My bad. Okay. Bye. What just happened there? Actually, let's do this in lowercase. Tends to look pretty nice in things. Let me import some icons here quickly. So SVG repo, Facebook, Insta, And finally, let's get Mastodon and Twitter. Need a shape builder tool for both of these here, so let's just drag them right there. Right, there we go. Let's just get rid of all of what we don't need. Whoops. And done. There we go. Oops, that was meant to be 80. And this also 80. Alright, everybody, group up. Alright. Let's try these over here. And we're done, basically. Actually, let me put this top corner so we can see a little bit more of the shelf right here that we're on, the metal piece. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this stream. I know I did. I had fun designing this combined challenge. Silhouette and monochrome image all in one. So we have technically two monochrome images and the silhouette inside of a larger design. That is the concept I was going for here, and I'm pretty satisfied with the results. I possibly may stream again this month, seeing as last month I was supposed to get to it at the end of the month and I ended up doing it at the beginning of this month. I probably will drop in another stream toward the end of this month, but you can look out for more from me soon. Remember to follow me on socials. You can find me everywhere at RolandVitsar, as you can see on screen right there. Remember to check out my website as well, RolandVitsar.pro, if you want to hire me as a designer, or if you want to work with me in any other way. I'm open for YouTube collaboration as well for anyone who is interested in talking about open source, especially open source design. I did put out a challenge on Mastodon recently and I have not had anyone respond. But yeah, if any of you want to talk to an actual designer in open source who uses open source first in design, then I'm available, so hit me up. Anyway, I will catch you all later. Thank you for tuning in and have fun. See you later.